Hey traders, John Hal here. So today what I want to do in this video right now is I want to share with you basically one thing that I see happening next year, and I want to cover what's happened. This is actually a diagram that I saw from Larry Williams' presentations recently, and this is actually basically about the election years, what's happened on average when it comes to the election years since 1956 to 2020. I want to share with you what this is here and how this is basically exactly what happened when Donald Trump was elected. I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to go back to that time when Donald Trump was elected. And if we're about to see the exact same thing, what could we actually expect moving forward? So let's get straight into it. Don't place a trade based on what you'll see in this video because there is no guarantees of making a profit in the market. It takes you a long time to become a good trader. So this video here is just to educate you to become a much better trader. So I've just recorded a brand new trading course and I'm giving you a free access to this. This is broken down into 4 different parts. Part number 1 is about the foundations, the biggest mistakes you're making right now, what goes into a good trader. Part number 2 is about the chart reading techniques that's been working since the 1950s. This chart reading, part number 3, advanced chart reading, is about the techniques that I've actually only learned from my millionaire mentor, not from books. And then also my number 1 top trading system mastery. I give you all of that for free and I'm giving it to you. So go to johnsfreegift.com right now or click on the very first link in the description. Alrighty traders, so one thing that we saw here from Larry Williams, right? We saw, if you haven't guys seen it, I think it's from, just type in Larry Williams in YouTube and you'll be able to see this. This is a presentation from him that I saw. And one thing that we can actually see here is this here is about the re-election years, right? The re-election years of what happens most of the time. Now we can't, it's very, very difficult to put COVID in this mix of things, right? Because we know COVID was one of those once in 100-year type of event. And so if we have a look what's happening here, this is what Larry Williams is saying on average is what's likely to happen. Now this is not from like absolute textbook, like this is going to be the exact low through here, right? It might not be through there, right? And we're going to get a big move to the upside, and then a move sideways for a while the election's happening. And then when the election happens, we have a big move to the upside, right? So I'm not really saying that that's going to happen, right? It's not an exact science. It's an average, right? So therefore it says on average, what's happened since the 1956, since 2020 is what? We've actually seen that through the election years, it's actually gone pretty quiet, right? Or the re-election years, it's actually gone pretty quiet for majority of the year, which actually makes sense because where the stock market is right now, we actually can see the stock market is really, what's been happening in the stock market? Stock market's just been going up, right? So to get actually a little bit of a pullback first and then maybe stabilize a bit, because that's exactly what I think is going to happen. I don't believe we're going to go through a big crash, not yet anyway. And so we actually can see how that this is what happens through the election. We actually get a bit of a dip first initially, and then we go sideways through this point through here. And then something what happens is when the election does happen, on average is we get a little bit of a bump first, and then we go quiet for a month or two, and then it's towards that November into December that we end up getting a really big move. And this is exactly what actually happened with Donald Trump as well too when he got elected. So you can see this is the average of what to expect through here. And so it doesn't mean that you should go out there and buy it through here, but what this does do for me personally is I see this is more like a warning indicator to say, okay, we should be watching for these patterns, right? Now, I didn't understand this here. So when Donald Trump became elected, I wasn't really aware of this here, but we did, but the chart ultimately will start to it's what I call trend analysis, right? And I think it's so important to just really look at the charts from a trend analysis perspective, because the buyers, the big boys who push this market around, they'll start to show you a hand a little bit. They'll start to do what? Higher low, or they'll start to do a high low, a slight higher low, and another high low, right? They'll start to build these sort of upward trending sort of pattern first, and then we get the pullback. And again, I'll show you that when it comes to the Donald Trump election through here. So this is the re-election years, and what's going to happen for the stock market on average between 1956 and 2020. That's if politics matter, which, as you can see right now, it is a big fight through there. So if I just wanted to share that with you there. Now, if I go and share with you exactly, let's bring up the Dow Jones. And I'm going to bring up the Dow Jones and I'm going to bring up the weekly chart here. So I want to share this with you. So if we go back and we have a look at the 2020 period, and the reason why I'm sharing this with you here is because, as you can see, this is what happens. This is what happens on average between the 1956 and the 2020 period, right? So we have this movement through the upside, and then towards the election, we have a move up, we have a slow period movement, and then a breakout. So this is the average. So I know this is based on re-election years, but this is very, very, very similar to what actually happened with Donald Trump, right? Remember this here, right? Towards the end, move up, and then a sideways movement into the election, and then a big move up. If we actually go look at what actually happened with the stock market, what actually happened with the stock market when Trump was elected, isn't this really fascinating, right? So if I bring this, can I bring this over here? All right, let me see if I can bring this over here. So I'm going to bring this over here like this, right, like that. And then I'm going to zoom this over here. Look at this, right? So this is when Donald Trump became elected, right? So this is when Donald Trump became elected through here, through the 2016 period. And look what ended up happening, right? We end up what? We end up having a move up. Really interesting, right? Now this was actually sort of towards the middle, and then pretty much just like June, July, and then August, October, November, August, October, and then obviously we had the very big move up, and then as you can see, we had that sort of move up from there, right? From the November period to the big move there. You can see November period, big move up, and then we can see here going into, that was actually the November, towards the end of October into November, very big move up. So it's really interesting to actually see that the Larry Williams chart that we're actually seeing through there, we actually can see that that's the average of what's happened through here. And you can see, once again, that we're getting really like a really big up move through here. So this is what we could actually expect to see next year. And the really big thing here is that I don't want you to be thinking about, or I want to encourage you not to be thinking about, I'm just going to go long this year right now because it's going to be a really good year. It's probably going to go flat. And as you can see, look, this is actually, this was all the flattening period for a couple of years, right? And then we had a very big move to the upside, very, very, very big move to the upside. It's really, really fascinating to see how this works. But remember I said before about trend analysis and how that's you probably heard about trend analysis, and a lot of people are using indicators and so on and so forth. For me personally, I think trend is the most important thing out there, because remember guys, when the market starts to trend in a direction, it's not you and me moving that. It's not you and me creating that, right? If you think about the chart is like a bit of a footprint to what the big boys are thinking, feeling at that time. Do they like this? Do they not like this, right? And they start to leave a bit of a footprint. And so what is that footprint? That footprint is what? That footprint is then we have this low point through here, right? A higher low. And look at this here, another higher low. And look at this, look what happened. And then we broke this high, and then look what happened. Now this is a weekly chart, by the way, right? So this is what happened the very next week. 7 days. All right, John, I thought the market was going to go crazy. Oh my goodness, this thing sucks. Look, you're looking at a weekly chart right now, okay? So it's more like a matter of a few months that happens, because that was the, if you got into this here, like, oh my goodness, here we go, we're gonna go for a big move here, right? And 7 days later, you're like, oh man, this is not doing anything. And then 7 days later, you're like, oh man. So now 14 days later, and you're thinking, oh man, this is not doing anything right now. And then now another 14 days, another 7 days later, which is what's that? 21. 3 weeks later, and the market really hasn't moved that much, right? It's actually moved from there to there. Hasn't really moved that much, has it? The purpose of me saying this, traders, is because if that does happen, you just got to give it time, right? If it's a weekly chart, if there's a big move to come, right? Depending on the time frame you're looking at, if it's a daily chart or if it's a weekly chart, the really important thing is just to understand that, okay, things take time. And this is something that I'm always saying with my private clients all the time, right? Because a lot of the times, or at least I have a small group of private clients that are with me every day as I'm doing my trading, and then I'm there coaching, helping them every single day in the markets. If you're interested in doing that, second link in the description, go book a call with me, and I'll personally call you and have a good chat with you. And even if you're not a good fit for the coaching program, I'll at least be able to give you a bit of a coaching call on the spot to be able to help you move forward anyway. So second link in the description there, guys, go book a call. But I was talking to my private client, and whenever I'm in a trade and they see that I'm in a trade, I always say to them that, remember, a really big move, big profits come from big moves, and big moves in the markets take time. And this is where, like, it's a very big, like, I want to make money fast, right? And then you get into a trade, and then one day moves for you slightly, right? So you may do something like this, or you may get, and there might be a little up bar through here, and you get in here, right? You get in there, and the market has a nice move up. Yes, did up. And then it might do that, and it might do something like that, and then it might go something like this, right? And you might get something like that, and then it might get something like that. And you think, oh man, this thing's not doing anything, right? Remember that to make big profits in the markets moving forward is that, one, obviously you need good trade selection, so you need to know what you're looking for. But then also, secondly, is that big trades come from big trends, right? And big moves take time in the markets.